Hello and welcome to the official WrestleNews 365 YouTube channel. Thank you very, very much for joining us here today. This is your WWE NXT Takeover War Games preview and predictions video. NXT Takeover War Games emanates from Chicago, Illinois in the All-State Arena live exclusively on the WWE Network. So let's get straight into the predictions for the 4-match card that's been announced. There's actually 5 matches, including the pre-show, but this video will only be previewing and predicting the results of the 4 matches on the main card. So the first match, a number 1 contenders match, Killian Dane versus Damian Priest versus Pete Dunne. The winner will face the current WWE NXT champion Adam Cole tomorrow night at WWE Survivor Series. I think it's good representation to have the NXT Championship defended at Survivor Series on the main card. I mean, you consider that the WWE Championship is going to be defended when you have Brock Lesnar facing Rey Mysterio from Monday Night Raw. You also have the WWE Universal Championship being defended as the current WWE Universal Champion, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, is defending against Daniel Bryan. So if you are going to have NXT as the third brand, they need to have equal representation of all 3 brands at Survivor Series, and considering you're going to have Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT at Survivor Series, it makes sense. If you're going to have singles matches for all 3 main championships on each brand, then you need to have the NXT Championship be defended, which is good, so it will be, and it's also a good spotlight to have Adam Cole defending the championship on the show. The match itself, the triple threat match that is, would appear to be the culmination of the rivalry that the 3 men in the match have been engaging in on NXT TV. Pete Dunne has had some great matches with Killian Dane and Damian Priest on NXT TV, particularly the main event between Pete Dunne and Damian Priest a few weeks ago on NXT. It got a lot of time. They would appear to have great chemistry in the ring. Damian Priest appears to be absolute money to me. I think he'll get a nice push in the future, no doubt. And now that there's no rush for any of the NXT stars to go to either Raw or SmackDown, they actually get the real time to develop. A lot of the time the problem recently, or in recent years with NXT talent, is they get to a certain level, they're just getting hot in NXT, and then they move to Raw and SmackDown because Raw and SmackDown desperately need star powers and they desperately need something new to move the needle in terms of the rating. But they're not ready. Not that they're not ready for Raw and SmackDown, but the creative isn't ready for them. How many NXT stars have we seen that have gone up to Raw and SmackDown that there's just nothing for them? You mean, you look at EC3, you don't have to look any further than EC3. EC3 in NXT was doing just fine. He hadn't really hit his stride in NXT because he hadn't really been in any major feuds to think of off the top of my head. So when they go up to the main roster, there's nothing for them. And I think now, with NXT being on USA every Wednesday, being considered the third brand, no longer being considered developmental, talent has time to mature and develop and really find their own niche. And then when it does come to moving to Raw or SmackDown, if they want to or if they have to, the creative needs to be there for them. The creative has to come up with something and then say to Triple H, we'd like this person in 2 or 3 months. That's how to plan. Now, WWE isn't known for their planning at all. So whether that sticks to that formula, we'll have to wait and see. But going back to the point, Damian Priest appears to be absolute money. If he continues the development that it would appear that he is having, I think he'll be a future NXT champion without a doubt. Now, Alex McCarthy, UK correspondent on TalkSport, who features lots of American sports, WWE, boxing, MMA, stated on a conference call with Triple H that Triple H said it was considered to have Lesnar versus Wyatt versus Cole at Survivor Series, the WWE Champion versus the Universal Champion versus the NXT Champion, like they've had in previous years when they've had the WWE Champion versus the Universal Champion. However, they decided that the Rey Mysterio-Brock Lesnar storyline, with Brock Lesnar attacking Rey Mysterio's family, was, quote, too good a storyline not to finish. I'm not sure about that one, that it was too good a storyline not to finish, but I think it's the right choice. He also stated that The Fiend should be doing his own thing, which I completely agree. The Fiend and Adam Cole need to be protective, and the only person taking a pinfall or a submission in that hypothetical match would be Adam Cole. I mean, there's no way that The Fiend is getting pinned in that match, and there's no way that Brock Lesnar is getting pinned in that match. So if they had that match, Adam Cole's taking the pinfall or the submission without a doubt. So that's good. I would agree to keep them all separated, as it highlights the champions on the respective brands and builds up the respective championships on each brand. I don't predict to see any of the major 3 championships on either brand changing hands tomorrow night, but we'll save that for tomorrow's Survivor Series prediction video. But on to the prediction for the match at hand, the number 1 contenders triple threat match. I think that Pete Dunne wins this one and will face Adam Cole for the NXT Championship tomorrow night at Survivor Series. And I know what you're going to say. You're only picking him because he's a Brit. Actually, no, it's much simpler than that. I would be absolutely stunned if Adam Cole, a heel champion, the top heel in NXT, faces another heel in Killian Dane or Damian Priest at Survivor Series. Therefore, logic would say that Pete Dunne is winning this one. However, and this does stray into the Survivor Series predictions here, I don't think that Pete Dunne wins the match at Survivor Series between Adam Cole and Pete Dunne for the NXT Championship. Adam Cole would appear, in my opinion, to be destined to feud with Tommaso Ciampa in the future for the NXT Championship. It feels like that's where they're going with that story, but we'll touch on that later on in the video. Either way, I think Pete Dunne wins this one. Next up, we have Matt Riddle taking on Finn Balor. This is Finn Balor's return to the NXT Takeover chronology. His last NXT Takeover match was on June 8th, 2016. At NXT Takeover The End in a steel cage NXT Championship loss to Samoa Joe. Little known fact, this was actually his one and only NXT Takeover loss. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Obviously, he competed at an NXT UK Takeover show, appearing earlier this year at the first NXT UK Takeover Blackpool event on January 12, 2019, defeating his protege, Jordan Devlin, in a fantastic match. But I would say that if you consider this the mainstream version of NXT TakeOver chronology, this is his first match since 2016, as we previously said. Now, Matt Riddle was a late substitute into this match after the original match was slated to be Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano. Obviously, when Finn Balor turned heel on NXT TV a few weeks ago, he attacked Johnny Gargano, hitting a brainbuster onto the entrance ramp, setting up a feud between the two and setting up this NXT TakeOver match between the two. However, unfortunately, Johnny Gargano was revealed to have been dealing with a neck injury, meaning unfortunately he's out of NXT TakeOver War Games and out for what would be the foreseeable future. All of this, once they revealed that Gargano did have the neck injury, would make sense, considering, if you think about it, since NXT's move to the USA Network and going to 2 hours live every Wednesday, we haven't seen that much of Johnny Gargano. Have we seen him in the ring? I think we maybe have had one match in the ring. Off the top of my head, I can't think if he has or he hasn't. You can let me know in the comments below. But we haven't seen much of him. That's my point. And this would lead one to assume that Gargano has been dealing with this injury for a while. I don't know, or reports haven't suggested when he first picked up the injury, how long he's been dealing with it. The severity itself of the injury is currently unknown. We don't know if it's a Tommaso Ciampa type neck injury where he could be out for 6 months. We don't know if it's a Jason Jordan neck injury where it would appear that he's never going to work again. I would hope that isn't the case. It doesn't seem like that isn't the case, so don't get too worried about that one. It could just be a slight neck injury whereby he just needs a couple of months off and out of the ring to rehab and get better. However, just the concern is the neck injury element of it, isn't it? Neck injuries in the world of professional wrestling are nothing to be messed around with. They are the wrestling kryptonite. How many careers have we seen ended by neck injuries? You think of Edge, you think of Stone Cold Steve Austin, a million more you can think of. The positive about the match, though, between Matt Riddle and Finn Balor is that I would assume that this gets 20, 30 minutes. Like any standout NXT TakeOver match, it'll get a ton of time. And I think it'll be a terrific match. Matt Riddle is more than a suitable replacement for Johnny Gargano. I think actually trying to get a positive spin on all of this, it actually benefits Matt Riddle being in a singles match against Finn Balor as opposed to being in the Male War Games match, which he was slated to be in later on in the evening. The reason why I think this does benefit Matt Riddle is that it's more of a standout spotlight match for Matt Riddle. Whereas in War Games, you have to pick and choose your spots. Everyone gets their spots. Everyone gets their shit in those matches. Whereas in a singles match, obviously, it's all about the two competitors in the middle of the ring, one of which will be Matt Riddle later on tonight. So I think that does benefit him. It's a greater spotlight. And no doubt Finn Balor has something to prove, being back on NXT TakeOver for the first time in 3 years. So Matt Riddle has got a terrific CV of NXT TakeOver matches. So I'm sure this will be no different. And I'm sure it'll be no different for Finn Balor. Prediction, though. I think Finn Balor, as we mentioned, has only lost one NXT TakeOver match ever, and that was to write him off of NXT TV before he went to Raw in the draft in 2016. Therefore, I don't think he'll lose his return to the NXT TakeOver this evening. I think Finn Balor gets the victory here. And of course, he has to be bound for the NXT Championship sometime down the line. He's the biggest star on the NXT roster right now. I would think, though, that's not in the too near future. I think he continues his feud with Matt Riddle post NXT TakeOver, as because of the Johnny Gargano element of the match itself, they haven't had a lot of time to tell the story between Matt Riddle and Finn Balor. But I think Finn Balor wins here, but I don't think that's the end of this feud. Next, we have your first War Games match of the evening. It's the male War Games. We have Team Undisputed Era. The team of the NXT champion Adam Cole, the NXT North American champion Roderick Strong, and the NXT Tag Team champions Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, facing Team Ciampa, the team of Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic, and the Mystery Fourth Man. This is the first of two War Games matches that we will see this evening. Now, regarding the placement of this War Games match, I've stated several times that I think the female War Games match will be the main event of this show, and I haven't changed that prediction. I think the female War Games will be the main event. Therefore, I think in terms of the male War Games match, this is likely to be in the middle of the show. So maybe the second match, considering there's only 4 matches on the card tonight. But who knows? Maybe it'll actually open the show to have quite a lot of distance between the two War Games matches, as you don't want them to be obviously right next to each other, and you don't want them to be too similar to each other. So maybe we see the War Games match open the show. I'm not sure about that. Like I said, I think it might be the second match after the number 1 contenders triple threat match. But the big question regarding this match is who will be the mystery man on Tommaso Ciampa's team. Obviously, that spot was intended to be Matt Riddle before Johnny Gargano's injury led to Matt Riddle being moved to the match against Finn Balor. Therefore, we have a space on Tommaso Ciampa's team. So who could it be? Well, obviously, the Velveteen Dream was attacked and laid out by the Undisputed Era on NXT TV a few weeks ago, so it could be him. Could it be him? Potentially. However, there is a caveat to this. The Velveteen Dream, when he was attacked by the Undisputed Era, was being used to actually write the Velveteen Dream off of TV due to having a back injury. So it obviously could be him, but there are doubts whether it could be him. He may have made a quick recovery. The back injury might not have been too severe, or it could have been a case where it is quite severe and Velveteen Dream still isn't clear to compete for the show. So, potentially. We'll leave that. We'll put a pin in that one. We'll leave that one there, potentially. But here's a curveball for you. How about Kevin Owens? Now, before you scoff and you say no chance, hear me out. Monday night on Raw, Triple H was pleading and persuading Kevin Owens to join NXT. They don't like you here. They don't know what to do with you. You've been fired twice by the likes of Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle and Daniel Bryan. They don't care about you. However, before the NXT champion, the former NXT champion, could give Triple H his answer, who was he attacked by? Answer, the Undisputed Era. That's your issue right there between Kevin Owens and the Undisputed Era. So the story is there if they want to tell it. The Undisputed Era attacked Kevin Owens on Raw Monday. The story is there. Now, I said on this week's Raw review that in reality, if this was a shoot, Kevin Owens would bite your hand off to rejoin the Black and Gold brand. So perhaps this is the night. Perhaps NXT TakeOver War Games is the night we see KO back in NXT. Perhaps we see Kevin Owens' decision to rejoin NXT the night before Survivor Series itself. And actually, that might not be slightly likely, considering he is on Team Raw. But Kevin Owens could join the team tonight, declare himself, say, hey, look, I'm still a member of the Raw roster. This is just my problem, is with the Undisputed Era. I'm still going to be on Team Raw tomorrow night at Survivor Series. This is a one night only thing. And then at Survivor Series tomorrow, then you see the turn of Kevin Owens rejoining NXT. So there's several ways around it. I know you're saying Kevin Owens is on Raw, he's in WWE, he's not going to go back to NXT. NXT's a third brand now, and NXT is synonymous with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens got his start in the WWE and NXT and lit that territory on fire, and he would bite your hand off at the chance to rejoin it. So it could be him. A third option, perhaps if Pete Dunne does win the opening match of the show and is going to be the challenger for Adam Cole's NXT Championship, perhaps he could be the fourth man. I mean, considering he will be facing Adam Cole tomorrow night at Survivor Series anyway, the story would be there itself. I don't think that's as likely. Triple H has gone on record saying it's going to be a big surprise, the fourth man, and you're going to absolutely love who the fourth man is going to be. So, my prediction would be that the fourth man is either going to be the Velveteen Dream or Kevin Owens. If I had to pick one, I would lean towards the Velveteen Dream, but don't put it past Kevin Owens being the fourth man. I think there's a real chance that could happen. Obviously, the complication is the Survivor Series element of it, but don't put it past Kevin Owens showing up tonight. Prediction for the match, though. I think the winner of this match will be Team Ciampa. Why Team Ciampa? I'll tell you why. Without getting into the female War Games main event too much, we'll talk about that in a minute. I think you can't have both babyface or both heel teams win the War Games match. You can't have both heel teams win the match, and you can't have both babyface teams win the match. I think there's going to be one of each. Therefore, without going into the female spoilers too much, I think the babyface team wins this one. Also, we're going to go for a little bit more logic than just, if heel wins one, babyface one has to win the other. I think the next challenger for the NXT Championship against Adam Cole is going to be Tommaso Ciampa. Therefore, if Ciampa gets a winning pinfall, in this match, this will continue the return/redemption storyline of Tommaso Ciampa, which propels Tommaso Ciampa into facing Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Now, I don't think Tommaso Ciampa will get a pinfall on Adam Cole in this match, considering Adam Cole is defending the NXT Championship tomorrow, his NXT Championship commitments at Survivor Series tomorrow. So I think Tommaso gets the pinfall in this match and then goes on to face Adam Cole in the future in his quest to retrieve Goldie. Also, another quick prediction or preview. Keep an eye out for Keith Lee in this match. I think the big man will do a spot like nobody his size has ever done before in this match. Keith Lee is a special kind of athlete and can do incredible things for his size in the ring. So I truly expect for him to do something spectacular. Now, what could that be? I can't see completely into the future. I'm good, but I'm not that good. I think likely, is he going to dive off the cage? Perhaps. I think he could do something that spectacular. I think a spot really, really big. They might have to be slightly careful considering this is one of two War Games matches. You don't want it to overshadow the main event, which will be the first ever female War Games match. So, does he dive off the cage? Maybe. But keep an eye out for Keith Lee. I think he's going to take your breath away tonight. Now, on to your main event. The first ever female War Games match. You have Team Ripley, which is Team Captain Rhea Ripley, Tegan Nox, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae versus Team Baszler, which is the team captain of NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and NXT UK Women's Champion Kay Lee Ray. So, first, why is it going to be the main event? Well, pretty simple this one. WWE loves their first evers, don't they? We've seen it with the first ever female Hell in a Cell match between Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair. We saw it with the first female Royal Rumble. They all main evented their respective shows which that match took place on. Therefore, I expect it to be no different tonight. NXT is well known for its standout women's division historically and presently, especially in comparison to the likes of AEW. So why wouldn't you have the first ever female War Games match main event the show? It makes logical sense there. I think it goes without saying that this match will be an absolutely tremendous match. All 8 women can absolutely work their asses off. The only thing I would have said previously going into this match is that I haven't been overly impressed with Mia Yim since she arrived in NXT. She had an NXT Takeover match with Shayna Baszler a few takeovers ago. That just didn't do it for me. I don't know why the crowd wasn't favourable of it, and if you looked on social media online afterwards, they weren't favourable of it at all. But that all changed recently with her ladder match against Io Shirai 2 weeks ago on NXT TV. Mia Yim absolutely worked her ass off in that match and won the crowd over. She broke her nose. She took a hell of a bump off the top of the ladder through another ladder on the outside of the ring as a result of the NXT UK Women's Champion Kaylee Ray. So all the participants for me in this match more than deserve to be in the match itself. But keep an eye on the one person that isn't in the match. Keep an eye on Dakota Kai. Obviously, she had that segment a couple of weeks ago whereby Dakota Kai did not make the cut to be on Team Rhea Ripley for the War Games match. Many have been speculating that Dakota Kai will or may get involved in the match tonight, and I would be one of those people that is predicting that. If anything, I predicted Dakota Kai to get involved in the ladder match a few weeks ago when she came out to back up Mia Yim, and everyone thought that she was going to be the mystery fourth person on Team Shayna Baszler, which turned out to be Kaylee Ray in the end. But that doesn't mean that Dakota Kai was left out of the team just to swerve that spot. Dakota Kai, I think my prediction here is that Dakota Kai causes Team Ripley to lose the match. Therefore, my prediction for the winner of the match would be Team Shayna Baszler. I think her dominance in NXT will continue, and that is my prediction for that female War Games match. But let's move on to other predictions for tonight. We've obviously run down all the matches there, but other predictions for the show? Well, Survivor Series is tomorrow night in Chicago in the same arena, with the all the invasion storylines that have been going on in the lead up to tomorrow's Survivor Series event. Could we see Raw or SmackDown stars potentially appear tonight at NXT Takeover? I would be surprised if they didn't, let's be honest. I mean, considering NXT's presence on SmackDown last night, arriving in the tank with Triple H, Road Dogg and Shawn Michaels and the NXT roster in tow, which we'll get into in our SmackDown review. That should be live on our YouTube channel later today. How can you not have some retaliation to that tonight at NXT TakeOver? It would make the most sense for them to retaliate somehow, whether it be Raw or SmackDown. So expect to see either Raw or SmackDown or both tonight at TakeOver. There's obviously only 4 matches on the show. I believe it's going to be a 2.5 hour, 3 hour TakeOver. It would make sense to be a 3 hour TakeOver considering NXT is now a 2 hour show every week on Wednesday. So I expect a segment or at least a big chunk of tonight's NXT TakeOver, where it's a 15, 20 minute, 30 minute segment, to be some form of invasion from Raw or SmackDown. Could Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns appear at their first NXT TakeOver event? Obviously, Seth Rollins has actually appeared at an NXT TakeOver event previously in 2017 when he was feuding with Triple H, but could we see Roman Reigns appear at an NXT TakeOver event? We never got to saw him in one whilst he was actually in NXT. He was only in NXT very, very briefly before the NXT TakeOver chronology began. It would be quite nice to see the big dog in that setting, wouldn't it? But what are your predictions for tonight's show? Let us know your thoughts and predictions on tonight's NXT TakeOver War Games event in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once we get to that magic number of 1,000 subscribers, we'll be able to do live reviews of every show and really get you, our great followers, more involved in our videos and reviews. Once we get to that 1,000 subscribers, we can actually do live reactions to shows like tonight NXT TakeOver War Games and tomorrow's Survivor Series the moment they go off the air. The moment you really want to talk about how good or bad the show is, we'll have live reviews and reactions once we get to 1,000 subscribers. So please help us get there as soon as possible. Don't forget, you can follow WrestleNews365 on all of our social media platforms on the screen right now. Twitter @365Wrestle, Facebook @WrestleNews365, Instagram @WrestleNews365, and Storyfire, what's that handle? You guessed it, it's @WrestleNews365. We will be uploading exclusive content to our Storyfire channel every Saturday and Sunday starting next week. So be sure to subscribe over there and not miss out on any of the action that you will not be able to find anywhere else. You can also visit our website, WrestleNews365.com. That's WrestleNews365.com for all the very latest news, reviews, exclusive series, and much, much more. You can also support WrestleNews365 by purchasing our merchandise. Visit WN365.com. That's WN365.com for all our merch and apparel. If you do purchase an item, be sure to post it on social media so we can share it with all of you and all of our great followers. We really, really appreciate all your support. Thank you very, very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today. We really appreciate it, and enjoy NXT Takeover War Games tonight, and we'll be sure to upload a review tomorrow and upload your comments as well. We'll speak with you again very soon. Have a great day. Have a great day. Have a great